The AD600 Pro has been my go-to flash for over 8 years now. And I've taken it on beaches, I've taken it in studio environments, I've taken it out on top of mountains. I've taken this thing absolutely everywhere that, I was strong enough to bring it. So I've learned a lot about it, I've learned a lot of the ins and outs, and if you're on the fence about the new one or the old one, or if you just want some general experience with this flash, and hopefully this video will help you demystify some of the things that I wish I knew before I got this. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio, and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC. And when I was first starting out, I realized rather quickly that lighting and flashes are the #1 way to make the images look the way I want them to look. So I did a lot of research in understanding what the best options were for me at the time. And though I did understand what it was I was buying, there's not much that could have prepped me for the last 8 years of experience in actually using this piece of equipment. There's a lot to love and there's a lot to take home about a flash like this, but it's definitely not without its drawbacks. Fans of the channel will know that one of my first videos was a review of this actual flash, and I've only had three, can't believe it's already been 3-ish years since then. And I want to touch base on my experience, especially now that I'm shooting a lot more video, and how I have to adapt the way I use this flash. This is easily one of the oldest pieces of gear that I still use today, like 7-8 years. That's longer than most relationships I've had, longer than any job I've had or any car I've driven. It's a long time to understand the ins and outs of something like this. And I'm honestly pleasantly surprised at some of the things that I have discovered and some things that I just wasn't expecting. One of them being the just ruggedness and the overall build quality of this item. One of the first things I realized when I was buying this was that, okay, this is the budget option. This is the cheapest 600 watt light that I can find that gives me all of the bells and whistles that I wanted. But realistically, I did not expect this thing to still be around, still have the original battery kicking, still have the original light bulb on the front of it, still have a fully working LCD and all the buttons still perfectly fine. Other than a few little dings and scratches that totally do not affect the shooting capability of this flash, it's still in perfectly working condition despite everything I put it through. And that's quite impressive for a budget brand. The more I've used this thing, the more I realize that this flash actually has quite a few features that are even hard to find on more name brand or more expensive counterparts of these kinds of lights. One of them being the included handle that comes with the flash. This is a all-metal construction, which honestly has never loosened up once in the time that I've owned it, despite how heavy this light is, and has an included umbrella mount. Coupled with the Bones mount in the front, basically gives you every modifier option available just straight on the light. And furthermore, on that little handle, one thing that I didn't know I loved so much until I realized other pieces of gear just don't have this, is this little pull tab that allows you to readjust without having to tighten or loosen the handle. Something I wish I had on these little magic arms. So, even with the light bulb, like I was saying, when I first got this, you are kind of scared. You got a $1,000 light. You're like, man, this is a lot of equipment, a lot of money for equipment that doesn't even take a photo. So I was extremely careful about this bulb over here. You're told never to touch it. You're told not to put your fingers all over it. You're told to be super careful with it. You're not banging it on your beauty dish. All of these things, though may be accurate, this guy's still kicking. And this guy's been on international flights. This guy's been all over, honestly, and somehow still going. So not to say that you can just throw it around and not really care about it, but if you're the slightest bit careful with your stuff, this doesn't really make any difference. I know the Pro Photo ones have that recessed bulb, so you're not supposed to break them, whereas this just kind of flips out and goes back in. I always thought I needed to get a couple extra ones of these, never ended up doing it. One of the drawbacks that I didn't quite consider when I was first buying this light was the actual weight and size of it. I was like, oh man, there's a 600 watt light it's gonna be heavy. It doesn't really matter, it is what it is. You just buy a heavier duty stand. And though that is kind of the case, it's also kind of annoying to not have the ability to boom this as securely as I would with, say, an 8200 or a smaller sized light. And the thing is, like, yes, this might be giving me a lot more than a 200 or a smaller light, but I don't often need 600 watts. That's also something that I just never really considered. I'm like, oh, I want the biggest and best light, that's all I need. But oftentimes I'm shooting this at like 1/16th or at 1/32nd power, and I'm only using the faster recycle time of the bigger flash rather than using the small ones at full power, let's say. It's not often that I'm using this at full power, even in the midday sun. Now, if you do want to boom, of course, there are workarounds. I know there are a lot of lights that have a flash with a battery pack on the bottom, and these flashes do have an adapter, an extension that you can basically separate the battery and the unit from the actual head and have a much lighter boomable flash with the actual battery on the back of your stand, giving you a counterbalance built in. Now, that is a possibility, but is, again, extra to this $1,000+ light that you're already investing in. So regardless of your method, whether you're just using the light or you're trying to boom it or you're just trying to just have it with you at all times, you're going to have to also carry very heavy duty stands. I've gotten away with some of the lighter stands. You might have seen some in my BTS videos before. I can put this on a lighter stand if I make sure that it's not moving and it's in my studio and there's no one walking around it, no one's going to bump into it, and I'm extra careful about it. But the overall workflow of using a much bigger and heavier and stronger light also has all the added weight of carrying bigger, heavier duty C-stands, maybe sandbags, all of that. It just gets a little bit more annoying when you don't always need all of that power. It's a bit of a misnomer to just be like, oh, well, the biggest, most expensive light is probably the best light. That's what I need. I'm just going to get that for my system. And this has helped me in many cases, but has also costed me a lot of extra in baggage fees and in just heavier duty stands and just maybe my back and some row backs and things like that, in that it was costing me a little bit more than I would have otherwise anticipated. One thing that pleasantly surprised me was actually its color output. The flash itself is actually genuinely very good at having a reliably consistent color output from shot to shot. I've done many stop motions throughout my career, and though I can look back and see maybe some errors sometimes, for the most part, this flash does a really good job, especially in the budget level, of giving a very consistent color output with every single shot. Whether it's your first one or your 300th one, all on the same battery, it still gives a very consistent color and power. There are some errors. Sometimes it'll just randomly come up to full power and shoot one shot that's like, way overexposed or something. I have noticed that happening in the past, but honestly, it's so few and far between, it's not something I'm actually worried about. The flash itself has the ability to high-speed sync, and it has the ability to change its flash duration depending on the mode you're trying to shoot. Whether you're trying to freeze motion or you're just trying to get a little bit more power output, it'll vary the flash duration for you to get that actual shot that you're looking for, which is a pretty high standard for, again, a budget light. So let's compare it to the V2 and see if the older one still holds up, or if you're better off, upgrading and maybe buying the newer model. From what I've gathered, the only noticeable difference is the bicolor modeling light in the front of your unit. In the V2, it gives you the ability to change your color temperature of your modeling light from a warmer to a cooler white, and giving you a little bit more video capabilities from a 40-watt light. Now, it's definitely not be-all, and it'll be draining a little bit of that battery of your flash itself. So I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing to upgrade just for that feature. If anything, I would just spend that extra money on a dedicated video light, especially if all you're looking for is that extra 40 watts of power. The feature set is all identical to the original one, and even the battery itself has the ability to be swapped between the original and the newer one. So even if you have the old one, or if you can find the old one for a little bit cheaper on Marketplace, and you want to pair it with a new one down the road, you'll still be able to use all the same modifiers, all the same batteries, everything like that. I didn't anticipate to stay in this Strobepro newer Godox ecosystem for very long, especially when I was first buying it. I was always like, man, I'm going to upgrade to Pro Photo as soon as I can. But the more and more I use these lights, the more I realize that these are totally fine, and I see them on bigger and bigger sets than the ones that I even shoot. So I'm like, why should I worry too much about having a name brand flash that nobody's going to notice, especially not my clients, when the workflow of this has just consistently surprised me every single time? Are there some drawbacks? Maybe. But the only thing that it's holding me back from is up here. There's nothing about this light that doesn't allow me to get the job done, especially if I work around with some of the booming issues or maybe some of the flash duration issues. The hindrance of being able to tell my story has never been because of this flash. It's always been because of me. So if you focus on your story and putting that extra budget that you might have otherwise been spending on Pro Photo or on Broncolor lights and putting that back into the storytelling, the set design, the people around you helping you out to do that shoot, you'll be much better off as a photographer than just focusing about what flash you have and which one you're always going to get. So thanks for watching. I hope you got a little something out of this one. Maybe leave a like on your way out and subscribe if you're new here. Maybe comment down below which flash system you're currently using, if you're looking to upgrade to this as your first ever flash, or you're a veteran Strobepro AD600 Pro user and you just really enjoyed that light. You wanted to see a bit more of a love story around it. Let me know. I'd love to hear it, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.